Let's start with the question. When was the last time your board of directors spent meaningful time discussing cybersecurity? If the answer is only after something went wrong, you're not alone, but you're also at a disadvantage. In this lesson, we're going to explore why cybersecurity has shifted from a technical problem handled in the server room to a strategic issue that belongs in the boardroom. Understanding this shift is foundational to everything else we'll cover in this course. For decades, cybersecurity lived in the IT department. It was treated as a technical function, something you funded, forgot about, and hoped worked. Security teams reported to IT leaders who reported to operations, and the board rarely heard about it unless something broke. Now that model is obsolete. Today, cybersecurity is a business issue. It affects revenue, reputation, regulatory compliance, and competitive positioning. It influences whether customers choose you or your competitor. It determines whether you can enter certain markets or win certain contracts. The organizations that still treat security as purely technical are consistently outperformed by those that have integrated security into their business strategy. And increasingly, they're even the ones making headlines for all the wrong reasons, the fame you don't want. 4 major forces have converged to elevate cybersecurity to strategic importance. First, regulatory scrutiny has intensified dramatically. Governments worldwide have enacted laws that hold organizations and increasingly individual executives accountable for security failures. GDPR in Europe can levy fines up to 4% of global revenue. The SEC now requires public companies to disclose material cybersecurity incidents within 4 days. Board members can face personal liability for inadequate oversight. Security is no longer optional, it's a governance obligation. Second, the cost of breaches has skyrocketed. The average breach now costs over $4 million, and that's just the average. For larger organizations or those in regulated industries, costs can reach hundreds of millions. Those figures don't even capture the full picture. They don't include lost business, damaged partnerships, or the years it takes to rebuild customer trust and reputation. A single security failure can erase years of business growth. Third, customer expectations have fundamentally changed. Your customers, whether they're consumers or businesses, now expect you to protect their data. They're paying attention, they're asking questions, and they're making purchasing decisions based on the answers you give. In B2B relationships especially, security assessments have become standard parts of vendor evaluation. If you cannot demonstrate strong security practices, you don't get the contract. Fourth, security failures now have strategic consequences. A breach doesn't just cost money, it can derail strategic initiatives. Mergers and acquisitions have collapsed due to security issues discovered in due diligence. Market expansions have stalled because of compliance gaps. Product launches have been delayed by security concerns. So when security fails, strategy suffers. There are some warning signs you can watch out for to find out if your organization is still treating security as operational rather than strategic. If security reports to IT and not to executive leadership. The CISO, if you have one, is buried 3 or 4 levels down in the org chart with no direct access to the CEO or the board. If security is discussed reactively only after incidents occur, rather than proactively as part of business planning. If budget conversations frame security as a cost to minimize rather than an investment that enables business objectives. If security isn't consulted during strategic decisions, new products launch, acquisitions close, and partnerships form without security input until it's too late. And perhaps most telling, when you ask executives about your organization's top security risks, they can't answer or they defer entirely to the IT team. If any of these sound familiar, your organization has an opportunity to shift its approach. As I'm going through this, it reminds me of how do you know if you're a redneck? If this, if that, if there's a pit bull hanging from the tire swing in the backyard, that kind of stuff. By its teeth, of course. But in this case, we're not talking about something silly like that. It's not a joke. All of these things are warning signs to know that business strategy is not the way that cybersecurity is being approached in your organization. So strategic security requires involvement from stakeholders beyond the IT department. The board of directors needs to provide governance oversight and ensure security aligns with risk appetite. The CEO and executive team need to champion security as a business priority and allocate appropriate resources. Legal and compliance need to ensure regulatory obligations are met and manage liability exposure. Finance has to understand security investments in terms of risk reduction and business enablement, both parts. Business unit leaders need to integrate security into their operations and strategic planning. And yes, IT and security teams remain essential, but as advisors and implementers, specialists of the strategy set at the business level, not as the sole owners of the problem. The bottom line, organizations that treat cybersecurity as a technical afterthought are playing defense with one hand tied behind their back. Those that integrate security into business strategy gain competitive advantage, build customer trust, and position themselves to move faster and more confidently. This course is designed to help you make that shift, to see security not as a cost center or a necessary evil, but as a strategic capability that enables business success. Coming up next, we'll examine the real costs of security failures, not just the obvious ones, but the hidden costs that rarely make the headlines but can devastate an organization. Throughout this course, you'll find downloadable resources with each lesson. Be sure to click on your resources download section there for your lesson, each lesson, to find great tools to help you throughout this course. In this particular lesson, a guide to the questions boards should be asking about cybersecurity is there. It's a useful tool for assessing where does your organization stand today.